Welcome to Women Mastering Midlife, where we dive deep into the rich complexities of womanhood in our middle years. I'm your host, Victoria Byrd, a pharmacist, certified women's health coach, and your guide on this transformative journey. Whether you're navigating perimenopause, thriving in menopause, or mastering midlife's many transitions, this is your weekly dose of expert guidance, compassionate support, and a judgment-free space to explore it all. Together, we will rewrite the narrative around this remarkable stage from being something to dread into a beautiful transition. Welcome to the Women Mastering Midlife podcast. I'm so excited that we are here in 2025. That makes me feel really old, seeing as though I was born in the fabulously year of 1980. But, I was thinking about what I wanted the podcast to look like for 2025. I've decided that New Year's resolutions, they just kind of make me crazy. So I've kind of steered away from those. And I just really try to focus on creating the best days that I can. Maybe the best week, maybe the best month, maybe a 6-week forecast. But for me, standing on the precipice of 2025, sitting at my couch probably on December 31st at midnight, I think about New Year's resolutions and sometimes they can just be defeating, or I go into this downward spiral of like, why was this year not what I wanted it to be? Why was it so hard? Thinking back on all the time I wasted, or the money I misspent, or the relationships I drug in too long, all of those things, So I'm trying this year not to really get too far into looking back with regret and looking forward with resolve. I've decided that I wanted to spend my time reflecting on the year in terms of the podcast. And I wanted to say, okay, so 2025, I am going to get my stuff together. 2024 was, I've got this idea and I really want to have a podcast, and I found somebody to help me launch it. And she was like, you just have to pull the trigger. You just have to do it. And so with that, I've decided that I really just want to focus on growth and being a little bit more intentional about my podcast recordings and the timing of which I put things out into the world. So, I was just so excited to get people on the camera with me and behind the mic and have conversations. And so I was just like, record them and put them out, right? But this year, I really want to have, not necessarily a calendar schedule, but I do want to have a little bit more rhyme and reason to my method. So in January, I really wanted to take time to talk about having a mindset around a few things to really set yourself up for creating an authentic, genuine, best 2025 that you can give yourself. And I'm not going to make any promises of, awesome in 20 days or give me 6 weeks and I'll make all your dreams come true. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about looking at our lives, our bodies, our circumstances with acceptance, not with resignation, but with acceptance, and saying, what can I do to move the needle forward in whatever, finance, relationships, organization, just so that we can live our best lives. Because midlife is not only a roller coaster of hormones and like a second puberty we didn't know was coming, but it's also an opportunity to take all these years of experience, all the wisdom and knowledge that we have from all of these things we've gone through, and really say, what can I do to just have the best life moving forward? So one of the things I wanted to talk about in January is mindset around things. So we're going to talk about a mindset around nutrition. I'm going to have a guest come on and talk this year or this month about more cooking at home, and not just about menopause fat loss, but menopause nutrition. Let's talk about sodium when we're fighting hypertension and high blood pressure and cardiovascular disease. Let's talk about making more things at home. We don't have to be, graduates from Le Cordon Bleu School of Culinary Arts to cook at home and just being able to control what we put in our bodies. We'll talk about closet organization and going into your closet and loving what you see and taking down those pairs of pants that maybe they don't fit right now. I'm not saying throw them out or donate them or sell them, but get them out of your line of sight. I'm going to be talking to a closet specialist. She spends her time going into women's closets and working with them to create a system they love, to put clothes on they love every day, to feel good about themselves. So I'm going to talk to her. And then we're going to talk about setting up our year so that in February, when it's Heart Month, we can talk about, protecting our cardiovascular health and all of the things that we can do in midlife, the things that are coming up against us as we age, and just kind of get into that in February. So for the next couple of months, I've got a plan. I don't know what March is going to bring. I'm recording this in November, so I'm going to give myself a little break that I don't necessarily know what's going to come in March. But at least for January, I have the intention set that we are going to get our minds right. And in February, we'll talk about heart health. 2 months is really good. And I've already recorded December. So winning on many levels. But I really wanted to talk about the new year, new you messaging that we have been bombarded with since we were teenagers. And we need to just burn the phrase, get it out of the vernacular. We need to be done with it. It's so harmful for midlife women. This year, we're setting the tone for enhancement, not transformation. Let's not decide that we're going to transform our bodies. We're going to enhance our bodies, however that may happen. If you lose 10 pounds of menopause belly fat next year, that is amazing. That is an amazing enhancement to your health. If you have gone from lifting a 2-pound dumbbell to lifting a 20-pound dumbbell, that is an enhancement of your life. So let's talk about enhancing and not transforming, because it's so exhausting and we're beating ourselves up. We're crashing our heads against the wall because in reality, we have so many hormonal changes going on in our body. Our body composition is shifting. So as our body starts to decrease estrogen production, if you're in perimenopause, you've got the little ovary factory still going with the baby making factory or the egg producing factory. But it's kind of like spitting stuff out onto the conveyor belt every once in a while. And sometimes you get you throw an extra quart of oil in there and boom, you get this boost of energy and a couple eggs pop out. Sometimes you have a cycle where you don't ovulate. So we're all over the place. It's a mess. And as estrogen starts to shift, your body composition is changing. Women come to me all the time and say, you know what? I never had a belly. Before I hit midlife, I never had a belly. And that's just part of evolution because body fat makes estrogen. So it's not the same estrogen that our ovaries produce, but it is an estrogen. So as you're increasing this body fat around your midsection, your body's trying to amp up its estrogen production because there's estrogen receptors everywhere in your body and they're starving for estrogen. So you're going to see that start to shift and it's part of evolution. You're going to see energy fluctuations. And I've had this whole chicken or the egg conversation with people. Is our energy and our fatigue causing weight gain and sedentary behaviors? Or is the sedentary behaviors and the weight gain causing the fatigue? I don't know what comes first in this life, but we are exhausted. We are exhausted. And we're at a time in our life where we're part of the sandwich generation. We're taking care of our older family members, our parents, our loved ones. We're taking care of teenagers and kids going off to college. We still have jobs. We still have our own health to worry about. We're in relationships or relationships are dissolving or we're starting new relationships. But there's so many life responsibilities being thrown at us. And we're also in the middle of this identity, I don't want to say crisis, but it's like a midlife shift for us. This is our time to say, you know what? I have given so much of myself to my family. I've given so much of myself to a career I either love or don't really like, my kids, my spouse, my family. What is it in the rest of this life for me? And who do I want to be? Do I want to be the same person I am? And so we're facing all of these challenges. And then you see the new year, new you stuff coming up. It's like, what if I like the old me? What if I like who I am right now? Or what if there's parts of me that I don't want to get rid of? There's some stuff I could make better. But gosh, if I was asked tomorrow, if you could go back to your 25-year-old self, would you do it over again? And my answer would be a resounding no. I do not want to be 25 again. Like, bless the children coming up these days. I don't want to do it again. I was a hot mess in my 20s. No thanks. Would I want my 25-year-old body back? Maybe. I would definitely be kinder to her and say, you know what? When you're 44, you're going to miss that stomach, or you're going to miss your chest being where it is right now because you start having kids and gravity takes a hold of things and elasticity is destroyed. I mean, nursing it's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful way to bond, but it destroyed my body anyway. So, I'm having this identity evolution right now. Like, I want to learn more. I want to try more. I want to laugh all the time. And every now and then I do want to cry. I cry more now at commercials and memories. I watch the iPhone slideshows that my phone likes to make for me, weeping when it categorizes things or people. And so I don't want to become a new person. I want to enhance myself. And I hope you're feeling the same way about yourself too. I mean, if you take a minute and just think about yourself and really love her, and think about the fact that if you were your best friend and you're talking to your best friend, do you talk to yourself the same way you talk to your best friend? I bet not. So we're going to have a mindset reset this year. We're going to focus on the power of self-acceptance, because when we start to appreciate our unique place in this world, and when we start to appreciate what we bring to people in our lives, what we bring to our community, we are impressive. You are an impressive person, and you need to accept where you are right now. And even if you don't like the shape of your body, or you don't like that you're not exercising, or you don't like that you're not eating enough, or you don't like the hot flashes, that doesn't mean, by accepting who you are, that doesn't necessarily mean you are resigning to be this way forever. That's the mindset reset we need. We're not resigning ourselves to be tired, overweight, sedentary, angry, exhausted. That's not what we're doing. We're saying, right now, I love myself, and I am so proud of surviving every day up until now. I mean, we have survived a global pandemic. We have survived tumultuous political climates in our environment, in our country, and we are who we are because we've come through it. So we're going to focus on improving ourselves and not transforming ourselves. And in looking at this year, if we can work on progress over perfection, and we can attack the world with authenticity. Are you standing in front of your mirror, barely recognizing the woman looking back at you? Perhaps you're lying awake at 3 a.m., body betraying you with another hot flash or night sweat, wondering if this is just how life has to be now. As a pharmacist and women's health coach, I've walked this path, both personally and alongside hundreds of women just like you. That's why I've created 2 powerful ways to reclaim your midlife journey: the Women Mastering Midlife community and personalized one-on-one coaching. In our community, you'll find your tribe, women who understand exactly what you're experiencing. Together, we'll navigate perimenopause and menopause with evidence-based strategies, twice monthly group coaching sessions, and a judgment-free space to share your story. But if you're craving deeper, personalized support, my one-on-one coaching program offers dedicated guidance tailored specifically to your body, your symptoms, and your life circumstances. No more Googling at midnight, no more trial and error with miracle solutions that leave you frustrated and depleted. Are you ready to transform your midlife experience? Book a free discovery call with me today. You will find the link to schedule in the show notes or check out www.womenmasteringmidlifecoaching.com for more information. In just 15 minutes, we'll explore whether community membership or one-on-one coaching aligns best with your needs, because you deserve to do more than just survive this transition. You deserve to thrive. Join us in aging boldly, beautifully, and on our own terms. I think a lot of the things that we carry will lighten, because if you're your authentic self, then you begin to establish boundaries around who you are, what you'll tolerate, what you won't tolerate. You know, your yes list and your no list will start to be really solidly formed. And I think that that is so important in this midlife transition. We need to understand our current season of life. We're not our fertile, myrtle, 20-year-old, biologically wired to attract a mate selves. We might be growing out of having kids in our house every day. They might be moving on and off to school, or moving out of the house and finding jobs or trades. And that is a new season. We might be empty nesters. We might be going through divorce, and that's the new season of life. And whatever it is, having a really good understanding of what your current season of life is and how we may not have the energy that we did when we were 20, but by gosh, we have the wisdom. So it's all part of that mindset reset. And then I want to talk about setting the intentions, right? We're not doing New Year's resolutions, at least not in my house. If you want to do New Year's resolutions, go ahead. But I think setting intentions around realistic expectations, right? Like, I'm not going to say I have the expectation of losing 30 pounds in the next 30 days. That's crazy. I'm not even going to set the expectation that I am going to fully manage my perimenopause symptoms. Because here's the thing. I saw a reel today about whack-a-mole. She's going to be one of my guests coming up in January. But she posted an Instagram reel about how perimenopause is like whack-a-mole. As soon as you hit one thing, like, oh, boom, got the hot flashes down. Then here pops up something else, right? Off the radar that you didn't expect. And so we need to have realistic expectations around ourselves and grace. Please, please, ladies, give yourself grace. Grace to fail, grace when you fail, grace when, you fall short, grace when you make a mistake. That's all okay. That's the human experience. Let's learn to work with our body and not against it. Some of us have frozen shoulder or bad knees or a runner's injury or a jammed finger or a bad shoulder or arthritic hands. There's so many things that are starting to happen as we age, and some of it's within our control and some of it is natural aging. I wake up and look like the hunchback, completely bent over for the first 5 minutes of my day. I don't know how I'm sleeping these days, but my body is just, I can't straighten out right away. And I need to move slowly, and I need to give myself some time to stretch it out. I can't just jump out of bed and start doing laundry and waking kids up and getting lunches packed anymore. So I'm going to learn to work with my body. When I had my spine surgery in 2021, I felt so lost and defeated for like 5 months when I had restrictions on what I could do because I was so fit and it all just went away. And I think that was when I had to really understand that I need to embrace where my body is and accept it instead of fighting it. Because my discs don't love me. Having had 2 herniated discs in March in my neck, my body was angry with me for something. And yet I still try to carry things that are too big for me. I'm 5'1", by the way. You can't see that on a podcast, and you can't tell in social media when people meet me, unless you see pictures of me with my kids. If you see pictures of me with the girls, you know that I'm not very tall. I don't have a high stature, but I'm 5'1", and I will still try to carry furniture up 2 flights of stairs that I shouldn't. And so I've learned now, and I'm working on it every single day, that I need to work with my body and not against it. And we also need to remember to be flexible and adaptable. Whenever I work with a client, we talk about small goals. Like, what can you do right now? What's in your bandwidth to do that will improve your health over the next 2 weeks until I talk to you again? And along the way, roadblocks come up, or it's like, hey, you know what? I thought I wanted this, but I really don't want this. And so knowing when it's time to be flexible and to adapt, and like right when I started to take care of myself again, then my daughter got hurt. And I needed to be adaptable around taking care of someone else. And so those things come up. And school things come up. We are going to work on realistic expectations, working with our body, staying flexible, being adaptable. I think this is going to be like the year of loosey-goosey. How does that sound? Year of 2025, the year of loosey-goosey. We're not going to hard, fast set what it's going to look like for the next 6 months or 12 months or whatever. We are going to move with the flow. And then, like I said, when I work with clients, we take small, sustainable changes, right? Small changes make a big difference, is what I always say. So we'll habit stack. We'll talk about where we need to start. Do you need to get your sleep in order? Because if your sleep is in order, then a lot of other things are easier. If your sleep is not in order, then it feels like everything else is harder. So maybe we start with sleep, and we talk about your sleep routine, and we talk about what are some things you can do to improve your sleep hygiene. Like maybe you don't scroll on your phone. Maybe you don't drink water 2 hours before bed. Those are some things that we talk about based on your circumstances and where you are in your health. But we're not going to dramatically overhaul. When you try to change every single thing about your life, it feels like you're fitting square pegs into round holes. It's just not sustainable. And then by February, you've broken any overhaul plan, and then it feels like everything just implodes, basically. So some practical strategies for 2025 in order to let's set the foundation. Okay, so this month we're going to set the foundation for 2025. Maybe we don't even do anything really crazy to alter our health in January, but we're going to get our baselines established. So if we need basic blood work, if you are in your mid-40s and you have not had your A1C, if you haven't had a CBC, if you haven't had your thyroid checked, your cholesterol level done, we need to get that done. If you haven't had your mammogram, lady, if you haven't had a mammogram in a year, it's time to put one on the books. It's time to start looking at your cycle. Is it still regular? Is it running, variability of 7 days or more? Is it, you're 60 days out from having a period, like every 2-3 months you get one? Like understanding how your body feels when you have one. I can tell you that I've become so aware of my cycle at this point. I know when I shouldn't make podcast episodes, or when I shouldn't try to launch a coaching opportunity or try to market anything, because my creative juices do not flow during certain times of the month. Let's talk about your support system. Let's think about a web of support. So we're talking about, one of the things I give my clients is a worksheet to think about what friend do you have to call when you need to work through something? Who can pick up your kid from school if you need help with that? Is there a mom friend or, a neighbor that can help you somehow with the kids? Do you have a therapist on your Rolodex? Do you have someone to help clean your house if that's an expense that you can make and that will free up time for other things? Do you have other people in your support network, other helpers and healers? Do you have practitioners like a nurse practitioner or an OB-GYN? Do you have an endocrinologist on file? Like who is your support system? So it's not just who can help me out or who can I have a girls' night with? It's who do I have to laugh with? Who do I have that I can trust to talk to? Who is on my medical clinical team? Do I have a yoga instructor? Like those are the things that we talk about. Like what is your web of support? Because then we can also see if there's parts of your web that are really tight and parts of your web that you could fall through. And if there are any parts that you could fall through, that's where we work together to come up with, let's brainstorm. Are there people that we're not thinking of? We're also going to talk about your non-negotiables. Let's talk about our boundaries. What are our non-negotiables for 2025? Make a list, get a notepad out, have a journal. I think journals for all this, like brain dumps. I have a brain dump guide. It sits by my bed at night when I wake up at 3:00 in the morning and I have the anxious, like crazy ramblings in my brain. I write things out. That's a place to put your non-negotiables. What are some things that you have to say yes to and you have to say no to? Then we'll talk about building those sustainable habits around your non-negotiables with your support system after we've established your baseline health. Those are some really practical strategies to get you ready for 2025. Then we're going to take our mental health into consideration, and we're going to talk about what are your personal values, what are your boundaries. I have some journaling prompts for clients. If you need some journaling prompts, drop a message at the end of this podcast episode just to get your head around enhancing your 2025. And then we're going to take action. After we've gotten the baseline, we've got our minds right. What are some simple starting points? Is it just grocery shopping, cleaning out your pantry, getting rid of things that don't serve you? Is it focusing on sleep? Is it taking a 10-minute walk? We're going to find the easiest things that you can do to move the needle. And then we're going to track our progress. And whether it's a habit tracker, an app, accountability coach, you're going to get off the scale and you're going to, maybe it's tracking how your pants fit while you're walking and eating food that you're cooking at home more, and maybe you're lifting some weights. But we're going to step off the scale, maybe even put down the measuring tape. Measuring tapes are good to show body composition changes that aren't scale focused. But even if that stresses you out, put down the measuring tape. And in the Women Mastering Midlife community, we come together, we talk about what our goals are, what we did well, what our focus is for the next week, what we did to rest over the weekend, what we did just for ourselves. And so being part of the Women Mastering Midlife community might be something that you're interested in looking into, because it is, it is an easy place to find resources and accountability. If one-on-one coaching isn't in your budget, it's not in your mindset, but that's a good place to come if you're looking for a place to start. With clients, when I work one-on-one with clients, I have an app that I have them download, and we discuss what the habits will be that they want to track. And I create a habit tracker for them so that they can check it off every day, report back. There's a food journal that's just taking pictures of food instead of actually tracking macros or scales or counting calories. If that's something, just to be conscious of what you're putting in your mouth. Those are some things that we do that are easy ways to track your progress. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, if you're like, this year I really need a community, I need a group of women going through it, then the Women Mastering Midlife community is a place for you. If you really need one-on-one support, I have created a health coaching program for women that we spend the first hour together in an onboarding session. It is about 50 minutes where we deep dive into your entire health history, your current situation. We create a vision of health for you. We get the app set up and all those things. And then you message me anytime you have a question. You message me your goals. You message me if you need inspiration. I cheer you on. I can hold your feet to the fire if you need it. And so we will have check-in sessions. So at the end of the onboarding session, where we've discussed what your next goals will be, then we might meet in 4 weeks because that would be a better time to meet. It might be 2 or 3 weeks, depending on the level of need. And then at the next check-in, we have a 25-minute call, Zoom, on the phone, whatever works best for you. And we discuss how it went, where you are, what you want to work on next. I give you some resources. And then maybe the next call is in 4 weeks. And as we get further on in working together, maybe it's 6 weeks. But it's a really fluid, easy way to have somebody keep you on track. That's not an extremely expensive coaching package. So if that's of interest to you, please book a consult call. You and I spend 15 minutes talking about what you need and what I provide and seeing if it's a good fit. It's free. It's quick. We could do it over the phone. You don't have to Zoom, and we can go from there. So there'll be a link in the show notes for the Women Mastering Midlife community. There's a link in the show notes for booking a one-on-one consult call. And, if you're looking for somebody to help guide you through this perimenopause roller coaster, I'll be right there alongside you. So my key messages before I leave, I want to close with the reminder that you are exactly where you need to be right now. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Don't let anybody make you feel other than that. You are exactly where you need to be. You don't need fixing. You have permission to take things slowly. You have permission to take the rest of your life to continue to improve your health. You can take giant leaps sometimes, and you can take baby steps. And sometimes it might feel like you are crawling. And that is okay. The experience is your own unique experience. It's not somebody else's. It's not mine. And so, the lens that you look through has your past experiences, your current circumstances, your barriers, your finances, your relationships, your culture, your religious background. It has every part of you built in. So your experience is unique. Even if the two of us came from the same place and the same background, our experiences are so different that this is going to be a unique approach to this year. And the stage of life requires different approaches. We are going to need to pivot. Yes, Ross and the couch scene. Yes, Ross and the famous couch scene on Friends. We all need to pivot every now and then. So just remember that. We need to have self-compassion. We need to stop with the self-criticism. We need to find our people. Find your community. If it's not the Women Mastering Midlife community, if it's not me personally as part of your community, find your people. Lean on them. Talk about your experiences. The more we talk about what we're going through, the less we feel alone. And the last thing I want to remind you is that your worth is not tied to your appearance, to your achievements, to money. You are worth so much more than any of that. As we get into 2025, please remember, your worth is not tied to your appearance. I have to say that to myself all the time. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope your New Year's is off to a great start. I hope you had a wonderful holiday season. We're getting into the gloom and doom of winter after all the holidays are done. Hang out here with me every week. I hope to inspire you this year. I hope to make you laugh. I hope you have a few aha moments along the way. And please reach out with any questions you have. I'd be more than happy to answer, do the research, whatever I need to do. Let me know if there's any kind of content you want to see coming up this year, if there's a specialist that you're dying to learn more about. And we're going to take it slow and easy. 2025. The 2020s have been a heck of a decade already. We're halfway done. So here's to the other half of this decade looking up, ladies. Thanks so much for joining me today. We will be back next week for another episode of Women Mastering Midlife. Until then, find us on Instagram at Women Mastering Midlife or Miss Victoria Byrd, and join us in the Women Mastering Midlife community to continue our discussions. You'll find links to what you've heard here today, as well as ways to connect with us in the show notes below. This podcast is intended for entertainment, educational, and informational purposes only. Please note the hosts, guests, and experts featured on this podcast are not your personal healthcare providers, life coaches, or advisors. The content should not be considered as professional, personalized medical, psychological, or prescriptive advice. This podcast is not a substitute for consulting your physician, therapist, local pharmacist, or relevant professionals to discuss your specific concerns and situation. The topics discussed should not be used as the sole basis to diagnose or treat any medical condition, make significant life changes, or make important decisions regarding your health otherwise. Women Mastering Midlife is not responsible for any undesired outcomes resulting from actions taken based on the information provided in this podcast. The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guests only and do not represent any of those other individuals or entities. Always consult with qualified professionals before making significant changes to your health regimen, lifestyle, or medical plans.